These are yours, bro.
Congratulations.
Yours, man.
What the hell?
Surprise, we made you beadlock.
Holy shit.
Welcome to Toyo Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean. Today we are going to show you how to mount tires onto beadlock rims. The way this project came about is Sean, my partner in the YouTube channel, is going to be getting married soon. And me and the other 3 groomsmen decided that we want to hook up Sean with a really nice gift. We decided to buy some Method 106 beadlocks, and we're going to put some 35-inch Toyo open country mud terrain tires on them. Method sponsored this project because I do know a guy, his name is John. I helped him out a couple times with this 3rd generation 4Runner, and later on he got hired by Method and moved to Southern California, and we kept in touch. So he was able to get us a pretty good discount on the rims. So thank you, John, and thank you, Method, for sponsoring this. And then I got the tires from 4 Wheel Parts because my buddy Griffin that I met 4-wheeling in Moab, he used to work for 4 Wheel Parts and he still has some connections there. So he used one of his connections for me and they were able to get me a discount on the tires. So thank you 4 Wheel Parts and thank you Griffin for setting this up for us. So we're gonna walk you through the steps to mounting tires onto beadlocks. We're gonna get all these rims unboxed and all the hardware unboxed, and then we're gonna get started with this job. As you can see, we have the whole gang here. All the groomsmen are in attendance. We have Dave, of course, Timmy, Chris, and Steve-O. And they all showed up at the Timmy the Toolman Studios to help put together these Method 106 beadlocks with some 35-inch Toyo open country mud terrain tires.
Sick mods.
Sick mods. So the first thing you got to do is you got to unbox the rims. And we're not going to show that because that would be stupid. But you get the rim out of the box. You got a hardware box. You have all the bolts for the lock ring. You have another bag that has the Method center cap with some Allen bolts and a Allen wrench. And then what also comes in the hardware kit is the valve stem. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the valve stem on. So you just got to take the plastic off the rim. You got to take this little rubber or whatever you want to call it off the top. This could be a pretty cool like steering wheel cover if you want it. We're obviously laying this on something to protect the rims because we don't want to grind it up against the concrete. You have your valve stem hole. The valve stems for this Method wheel has a little decorative cover that you have to slide off first. Just to let you know, because it happened to us, when we saw it like this, we go, oh, I guess it goes on like that. And we tried to pull it through with the decorative cover on it, and it didn't exactly work, and we mangled it a little bit. So don't do that. So learn from our mistake. Take this off first, and then you grab a tool like this to pull valve stems in. You could get ones like this pretty affordable on Amazon. I'll put a link to this one in the video description. You just screw it onto the valve stem. I would get maximum thread engagement. And then because this one's plastic, we don't have to worry about putting a rag or anything. You just lever against the rim and pop it in place. As easy as that. And then you put the little German helmet on, or the cone head, and you put your cap on. And then we're just gonna leave this like this until we're ready to inflate the tire. I learned this from another YouTube video, and it's a pretty cool fact. You see this little circle that they put on the tire? This signifies that this is the lightest part of the tire. And to make the tires balance a little better, what you do is you put this dot in alignment with the valve stem because the valve stem adds a little weight and that would bring the wheel into a better balancing situation. to assist to be able to slide the tire onto the rim easier, we just have a soapy solution. I just put some dishwashing soap in here with some water, pretty heavy concentrate, and I'm gonna spray this side because this is the side that's gonna go down first. You could be liberal with it. You just want it to get it really wet so it slides on easy. And then with the help of a helper, we're gonna lift this on top and then we're gonna just push it on. Now you have to pick up that backside, remember? Get it on a little bit more. We got it on partially, pretty tight. And what Chris is gonna do, he's gonna pick up the side that's low while I push down and see if we can get this on there. Push right where that overlaps. There it is. So it's a little bit of teamwork. Good luck doing it all by yourself. This is a team sport. So the next thing we're gonna do as a team, we're gonna pick this up and set it on a 5-gallon bucket turned upside down. And what that's gonna enable the tire to do is to sink lower on the top of the rim to get that lock ring in place and getting all the bolts started. So get the bucket over here, and then Chris and I are gonna work as a team and pick this up. We're gonna set it on there. I didn't originate this technique. I learned it from a YouTube video. I like YouTube, obviously. So now we have to get the tire to seat fully against the rim. So we have to do a little bit of work here to push it down. It's not too much work. I guess it depends on the type of tires you have and the rims. And that's it. So you can see that the tire is all the way recessed around where the lock ring is going to be capturing it. So that lock ring is going to come down and it's going to capture the tire between the lock ring and the rim, and that's how the bead lock works. The bead cannot be broken from the outside in. It could potentially break from the inside out, but that's generally a more rare occurrence. Usually, if you break a bead, you hit a rock on the edge of the trail or wherever you're wheeling, and it breaks the bead from the outside in. That's the normal occurrence. You could buy double bead locks and have bead lock rings on both sides, but that seems a little excessive, and we didn't want to spend that much on Sean. He's not worth it. Just kidding, Sean. Now that we have the tire on the rim, we're gonna do an optional thing. Not everybody's gonna do this, but we recommend it. We're gonna balance these tires by using plastic BBs. So if you're gonna follow our lead and do it that way, you'd wanna take the tire and rim off your bucket and then weigh them. You get that weight, so the weight of these came to about 116 pounds. You divide the number by 13, and that tells you how many ounces of BBs you should add to each wheel to keep it balanced. So we did the math, and it comes out to about 9 ounces. Now we're gonna add the BBs to the tire before the lock ring is in place. So you just get a little bit of a gap. You grab your weighted BBs. Those are the little BBs. So you just get a little scale like this. You can get them from multiple places. Online's a good source. People have these for many uses. Most of the time it's for weighing out food or whatever floats your boat, whatever you're weighing. How about that? So you could do it with a little scale, all right? And to get the BBs in, we decided to use a small funnel, and we'll just stick the funnel in there and then pour the BBs in. There it is. We've got the BBs in, and now we got to get the lock ring in place. This is self-explanatory, but just to make sure, the recessed holes face upward. This is the outside, and this is the inside. And you just place this over and line up the holes, and then start getting your bolts in. Now, the instructions say that you can put these in dry with no anti-seize, or you can use anti-seize. And the torque value will be different whether you go in dry or you use anti-seize. So we chose to use anti-seize even though we are in sunny California, we don't deal with road salts. We figured, why not? Because we don't want Sean to have to work really hard to get these loose in case some corrosion happens. Maybe he goes to the beach and gets a little salt water in there. Who knows? We're gonna put anti-seize on all of them. We're just using some basic copper anti-seize on this, and you get it on all the threads and then start screwing them in. With each bolt, you have a flat washer underneath the head. So we got a bunch of them staged right here. And I'm gonna use my helper. Who wants to be my helper? We're gonna have Steve will help me, and we're just gonna start getting these in here. Steve-O and I are just using a socket and extension and just screwing these in with our hand, just touching them down. So now that they're all touched down by hand, now I'm gonna switch to a 1/4 inch ratchet with a 1/2 inch socket. These bolts for the lock ring are an SAE. You wanna tighten this down evenly, and it doesn't have to be a total exact science, but you go crisscrossing. So usually start at the valve stem, do a few turns, I'll go straight across, do a few turns. I'll go back across, few turns, and then back across. And I just keep on going back and forth and slowly bringing it down. You might be tempted to use a electric ratchet or an impact gun, but you really just want to take your time and bring these down gradually. I'm just going to keep on going back and forth until the lock ring is almost fully seated against the rim. One thing I want to say before we cut and come back to where I have this thing all the way seated is the method instructions on their website say this lock ring, after you finish the torquing sequence, it needs to be in contact with the rim. If it doesn't, then it's not safe to drive, and you have to use a lock ring spacer, and that's because the tire is too thick. So these are 35-inch tires, and before we started this process, I called Method, and they said you shouldn't have any problems. You generally start running into problems with having to use a spacer for the lock ring when you get up to the bigger size of about a 40-inch tire. That's what I was told. So this lock ring is gonna seat perfectly against the rim at the final torque value. So as you can see, there's still a gap between the lock ring and the rim. And that's what I'm talking about. When you're done with the torquing sequence, this lock ring should be fully against the rim. And that's when you know the process worked like it should. If there's still a gap when you reach the torque value, that means you have to get a spacer. I went back and forth in a crossing pattern with my 1/4 inch ratchet and 1/2 inch socket. And now you can see that the lock ring is pretty much against the rim. Not fully, but pretty close. Now what I'm gonna do with my 1/4 inch ratchet is I'm just gonna start at the valve stem and go in a circle and just cinch them up. You can see I'm choking up on the wrench. I'm not using a lot of pressure. I'm just gonna go around one more time, make sure that they're all pretty even. Okay, now that they're all touched down pretty snug with the 1/4 inch ratchet, we're gonna switch to a torque wrench. Like I said, depending on whether you put the bolts in dry or you use anti-seize, changes the spec. The Method website has a little chart, and the chart shows you the different specs you're gonna use based off of the bolt size and whether your rim is cast or forged. These rims are cast. The bolts that come with these 106 Method rims are a 5/16 with the 18 thread count. The chart said the spec with anti-seize on those bolts is 15 to 20. I chose to go up to 20 because I value Sean's safety. And he's got to continue to make videos with me, so I can't have him dying in a fiery crash when one of these beadlocks blows off. So anyways, we're going to use 20 foot-pounds. The Method instructions say go around and go half the spec. So we're going to do 10 foot-pounds first, and we're going to go around the whole thing in a crisscrossing pattern, and then we're going to move up to 20 foot-pounds. So for that first crisscrossing pattern to 10 foot-pounds, I'm gonna use my inch-pound torque wrench. So to do a conversion from foot-pounds to inch-pounds, you just multiply by 12, and that comes to 120 inch-pounds. I have my inch-pound torque wrench, about a 6-inch extension, and the 1/2-inch socket. We came up with a pretty cool way to know we're going across from each other. We've got this big level, and we put it right over the bolt holes going across, and then I torque one to 10 foot-pounds. I go across, torque that one, and then once we get those two, we just move the level and then do those two. And this is how we're able to keep track of the ones we're doing. And you get the idea. When I get all the way back around to the valve stem, then I know I've hit all of them. After you do the crisscrossing pattern, bringing all the bolts up to 10 foot-pounds or half of the spec that you have to do for your rims, what I like to do now is just go around in a circle, starting at the valve stem, and just bring them up to the spec again. So I just double check that they're all at 10 foot-pounds. Okay, I went around the whole circumference and I double checked they're all at 10 foot-pounds. So now I switch to my bigger torque wrench. I have it set to 20 foot-pounds, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna get the level on there starting at the valve stem, torque them one across from the other, go around until we reach the valve stem again, and then after that, I'm gonna go in a circle and then make sure all of them are at 20 foot-pounds. And that's the torque sequence. So pretty simple, but pretty labor intensive, especially if you're in a hot garage. But like I said, resist using a electric ratchet or an impact gun. It's better just to take your time and slowly bring the ring down, sandwiching the tire in between the lock ring and the rim, and just do it right and do it very incrementally and carefully, because you don't want to screw this up and die in a fiery crash or go off a cliff. So now we're gonna put the cool Method caps on. We're gonna line up the Method on the cap with the Method on the rim. Just extra style points for Sean. These Allen bolts end up being a 4mm. Get them all started. We've got all the Allen bolts started, and I'm choosing to tighten them up with this T-handle 4mm Allen. It's a little bit easier than using the supplied one that comes in the kit. And the torque value for these is good and tight. No, really, it's 80 foot-pounds. Just kidding. If you believe that, I got a bridge I can give it to you for a very low price. Okay, and just cinch them up good and tight. All right, they're all cinched up. Now we're gonna get the tire and rim off the bucket, and we're gonna air this sucker up. The money shot. Okay, let's lift it off. To facilitate the back of the bead seating on the rim, we're gonna spray it with the same soapy solution. Okay, and then you use your air compressor. Hopefully you have an air compressor. I got myself a bigger one from Harbor Freight. I'm using my air nozzle for my Via Air portable air compressor, and we'll start filling this up. It's coming, it's coming. Ooh, there it is, the money shot. So the tire is fully set on the back of the bead, and then now we just keep on filling this sucker up. We're choosing to fill it up to 35 PSI, which is pretty standard for on-highway use. Now that he's got beadlocks, he can go way, way low when he goes four-wheeling, whatever that is. I think Sean likes mall crawling more than actual wheeling, huh, Sean?
Hey.
All right, the four musketeers were successful. We mounted 5 35-inch Toyo open country mud terrain tires onto some Method 106 beadlocks. It was fun and very sweaty in the hot garage. pretty hot today in California. I think it hit what, 95?
Something like that.
Yeah, pretty hot. As you can see, it's not that hard to mount tires onto beadlock rims. It's just labor intensive. Mainly doing the slow and methodical tightening sequence of the lock ring onto the rims. You just have to have patience and go crisscrossing and do the whole proper sequence and get them torqued to spec, because you don't want to have a catastrophe with one of these. Something to note with these beadlock tires is they suggest after 250 miles you check the torque spec of the lock rings again. So you just go through and double check and re-torque all of them back to the final spec, which for us is 20 foot-pounds. So Sean, we hope you appreciate the effort that your groomsmen did for you. Again, Steve-O, you know Timmy, Chris, and Dave. We're looking forward to seeing your very shocked face when we meet on the 23rd to head out on your 1 week bachelor trip up to Northern California. And we know you are gonna be blown away. I think the top of your head is gonna blow clear off when you see the badass gift your buddies did for you. And we did it for you because you are such a great guy. You've helped out all of us many, many times. And this is our way to show our appreciation for you, our good friend. So thank you, Sean. Congratulations on your upcoming marriage. And we look forward to spending a fun week with you, doing some wheeling and camping, river rafting, hanging out, drinking, and other things that go on around camp. No broke back action. You got that, guys? No broke back action. All right, with all that said, we thank you for watching Toy at a Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean, and special guests Steve-O, Chris, and Dave. Peace out, happy wrenching, sick mods, and sick method beadlocks with some sweet 35-inch Toyo open country mud terrain tires. Bye-bye.
Oh, and Sean, when your marriage hits some bumps, we got these for you so that we can hit the real bumps together.
Congratulations, Sean! Woo! Woo! Woo!
Cool.
All right. Okay. He's gonna be stoked.